What's up, fellas? So my goal is for you to be holistically developed and for you not to have any weak points in your training or on your physique. So a lot of people to that end wonder, like, what is the importance of strength standards? Is it important to be strong? Is it not important to be strong? I think it is, but it's context dependent. You need to be relatively good at each movement that you have in your program. So I went ahead and took the liberty of making what I call the ultimate strength standards calculator. This is not going to tell you if you're a beginner, intermediate, and advanced. It's just going to tell you if relative to every other lift in your program, and this is common accessories and lifts that are in pretty much every program, everybody's going to have access to them. But are you relatively strong in a wide variety of lifts with good hypertrophy form, no bullshit? And if you aren't, well, there's your area of opportunity. You'll work on those lifts. Not everybody's perfect. I'm not. I have a couple that I need to work on too. Overhead press and incline bench, okay? For you, it may be a tricep exercise, a squat exercise. This is gonna account for different leverages as well for that same reason. Someone with longer legs may not be where they need to be at on, say, like a hack squat. Or, for example, a short arm fellow may not be where he needs to be at on a French press or a tricep rope push down. So leverages are taken into account. Go ahead and put your numbers into that calculator. Recent training maxes, not what you think you can do, not what you did 3 months ago when you used Snap City form, what you can do now or what you have done recently. That's going to ensure that everything in the calculator is accurate. Everything is done full range of motion as well. So if you have like a quarter rep squat, like, don't put that shit in there, bro. You know damn well put in a parallel or lower squat in there, and that's what the calculator is going to give you. We're going to head right into the Q&A and hot takes. Y'all let me know what your lifts are like. Are you in the impossibly meaty category or are you in like to standard? We're going to get right into the Q&A and hot takes. I want you guys to know that I'm suffering, by the way. It's hot as fuck in here and I turned the freaking air conditioner off. I got a lot of hot takes surrounding protein intake for some reason this time. Commonality between all of them was that people feel like protein is overrated. You don't really need to have that much of it. I get the sentiment. So y'all let me know where you weigh in on that hot take and I'm gonna give you my opinion. But for me, I feel like protein is a low-hanging fruit. Like, amongst the things that you can check off that are easy boxes to check, it's effort in the gym and your diet. Like, we can ensure that we're eating enough calories, that we're hydrating, and that we're eating adequate protein to support our training. You may not be able to account for how you feel that day, your motivation, or even how much weight you're lifting depending upon like how much you slept. But what you can control is the diet, okay? Protein with each meal, that's what I say. So it doesn't have to be exactly like a 1.2 grams per pound of body weight or whatever the upper end of it is. But for me, for example, I'm about 200 pounds, relatively lean, all right? I'm not gonna be able to sustain my level of training and progress with just 100 grams of protein. Now, that's not to say that if you find that you don't need that much protein to support your training, that's totally different. But a lot of people, in my view, find 1,000,001 ways that they can slack off and not do their due diligence. I get a lot of questions, you know, I put this up on Instagram as well, where people are like, dude, like, to what extent can I slack off in my sleep? To what extent can I slack off with my effort in the gym? It's like nothing. You can't slack off on anything except expect exceptional results. It just doesn't work that way. Now, you can get like okay results. Like, you can look like you lift to some Johnny One Plate that's walking outside right now. It's, you know, has not an ounce of muscle on their body and is likely obese or something. But I mean, relative to what you know you want, you're not going to get the type of results that you're looking for slacking off. So that's just my view. I feel like you can probably go with less than you maybe think. So like 2 grams per pound of body weight, in my view, for most people is just unnecessary, unless you're like world's strongest man and have 400 pounds of lean mass. But I mean, for the average guy or even the exceptionally genetically gifted fella, just eat your fucking protein, bro. It's an easy box to check. This next question comes from a fellow mountain dog enjoyer. Rest in peace to John Meadows. So this fella, as I said, he's an enjoyer and a connoisseur of John Meadows training practices, just as I am, just as many of you are. And he wanted to know what my thoughts were surrounding like exercise ordering and how to incorporate it. I would imagine, past what John Meadows prescribes. John Meadows, as you know, or maybe as you don't know, maybe this is your first time hearing it, is a big enjoyer of putting the press downs before tricep extensions, just for longevity and for sustainability. I think that foundationally, that's amazing. Like, you should do that at a minimum. Now, there's a couple ways that you can employ exercise ordering, and it comes down to the ratio of things. So I don't think that really we should deviate too much from that, because as I said, that's a best practice. But what I've found is that for the most part, I get a much better stimulus rep per rep from extensions as opposed to press downs. So something that I have told you guys to do is, you have a certain amount of press downs and then a certain amount of extensions. Again, I feel that's the best practice, but the context is that I'm likely a bit more advanced than the average person watching this. And what I found is that I'm pre-exhausting my triceps to the point with my press downs where I don't really perform as well on extensions. So I may just like destroy my triceps with like 50 to 60 reps of hard press downs, dual rope push downs. And then immediately right after that, because the elbows are warm and it feels great on the elbows, but then I'm doing my extensions and I'm stuck at 50 pounds for 8 reps. I have even tried sloppying the form and I have not surpassed 8 reps on the decline, dumbbell tricep extension. So something that I'm trialing, and that like, I'm at a point in my training where I only need to try something once to know that it's going to be sustainable and that it works better. And it's evident in my performance. So this most recent session, so I just got back from the gym, but the session before this, just last night, I did a couple feeder sets of press downs and then one hard set of press downs. So feeder sets means like warm-ups, right? And then one hard set of press downs, to where I'm checking that box of, okay, I'm making sure I warm up my elbows with press downs. Dude, after that, I did, no bullshit, 7 sets of extensions. So 3 sets came from JM press, 4 sets came from bodyweight tricep extensions. The performance on the JM presses was higher. I got more reps, more weight. And then I was still fresh enough to be able to do, Dr. Mike Israetel calls this a down set, wherein you take a similar movement pattern and just make it one deviation easier, right? So we go from JM press to the bodyweight tricep press downs, just to funnel more volume into the extension pattern. Dude, the pump that I had was insane. Like, I already know that this is going to be sustainable long term and that it was a good move. So that's just one way that I like to employ, the principles of exercise ordering from the Mountain Dog method, and then put my own BERSERK method spin on it. You see what I'm saying? So maybe that's something that you guys can think about. Maybe there's, you could apply this to leg extensions and squats for warming up the knees, maybe hamstring curls and squats. It's just something to think about. Ratios is what I want you to think of. Fellas, I really want your input on this one as a community, because there was a lot of back and forth on this Q&A. But this fella essentially said, and he used Jeffrey, Alex, and myself, for example. He used Jeffrey's arm specialization, Alex's 405 bench training, and then me doing Larson press and seal rows as an example. But he said that specialization is important in maintaining certain muscle groups. To that end is how we get exceptional results. Maybe I'll put it up on the screen, but I'm paraphrasing. So my boy Sam Sheether came in the comments and he had something to say as well, but here's how I feel. First and foremost, I'm not going to speak for Jeffrey. I'm not going to speak for Alex. But fellas, Jeffrey, Alex, I would love to see individual videos from you responding to this as well. So I'm paging you. I'll probably tag you in this video, but I'll speak for me because you put me in it, right? I did Larson press and seal rows because I fucked my back up and I was too scared to train lower body heavy because I did not want to hurt my back again. That's the truth of the matter. Now, my program was very specialized and I did get jacked and strong doing that. But for me, I'm so much more jacked and my base level of strength is so much higher on so many things following essentially a bodybuilding program, all right? I just posted my entire split the other day. Very unique 5-session full body training program. that, in my mind, maximizes a lot of different muscles. I'm 200 pounds. I'm lean still. I'm not as lean, but I was like 170 pounds. Admittedly, a lot leaner than I am now. The difference is immense in terms of size and strength there, right? I have an 18-inch neck now. My calves are 2 inches bigger. My arms are like up over half an inch, right? My chest, everything is bigger, right? Where I'm maintaining anything. I'm not trying to maintain shit. I'm trying to get everything bigger. Now I have specialized in the capacity of, okay, I want my legs to be bigger. I want the arms to be bigger. So I'm gonna put those earlier in the session and put more volume towards them. But I'm trying to get everything in terms of back, arms, core, chest, everything, the neck, the yoke, the traps, everything. I'm trying to get every muscle improved. I'm trying to get my plus ones on everything. I'm not trying to maintain anything. So that's just me elucidating what like the reality of things was. But I would be very keen to hear what Mr. Jeffrey and Alex have to say. Y'all let me know how you feel about that. All right, our next question, ironically, since we were just talking about specialization, is how do I specialize? I talked about this a bit on the video that I just posted. If you would like more detail as it pertains to my split, check that video out. I'm gonna put it somewhere on the screen, maybe here or at the end. But it's very simple, bro. So I want you to think about, what's an example I could use? I don't know how many of y'all are into trading card games. Don't lose me, okay? I'm gonna make it make sense for the people who aren't fucking dorks. But like, we'll use Yu-Gi-Oh for example. You have like a boss monster that you design a deck around. Does that make sense? Think about what you want to grow as the boss monster and design your program around that. So what you want to grow has to come first most of the time, and it has to get most of your emphasis. What that may look like is, for example, if you want to, bias legs or specialize in legs for whatever reason, or we'll use a more exciting one. What's one that people like? Because a lot of people don't train their legs. Let's say arm specialization, because everyone wants to get jacked and stacked arms like Jeffrey, all right? You put the arm training earlier in the program, and you do a little bit more volume relative to your other exercises in the program. So you may do 6 sets of arms total, and they may be 4 sets of chest. Or you may do 8 sets of arms and 6 sets of chest. Or you may do equal volumes, but the arms comes first. Or they get more of their own days, so you may have more arm days. It's really, there's a lot of different ways you can do it, bro, but don't overthink it. You specialize in something by prioritizing it and doing it more often. That's all that you need to think about. I got a new segment for y'all. We're gonna try this out and see how you like it. It's hot take rapid fire. These are hot takes that don't need like a complicated answer, but this first fella says is that people overcomplicate arm training, incline curls and all this shit isn't necessary. I just do easy bar curls, hammer curls, press downs, and extensions. My brother, that's what literally everybody else is doing as well. Your exercise of choice is just different, which is fine. But I don't think anybody's overcomplicating it. We're just talking about different exercises that may work better for different people. This next fella, this is tough love. It just is what it is. But he said calories in, calories out isn't the end all be all. He ate 4,000 calories and didn't really gain any weight. But then he changed to like a whole foods diet and ate 3,000 calories and then came up in weight. There's something to be said about the quality of food that you eat, but it's not going to be the difference. It's not going to hedge that much of a difference in eating 4,000 and not gaining anything versus eating 3,000 and then gaining a lot. So I feel that there was a difference in precision between the two. Either A, weren't in a surplus, or B, you were tracking improperly. And as a consequence of that, we're not in a surplus. So this last fella in the rapid fire, he said, fight me. You can get big and bulk off of 2 big meals a day. I know Sam and Max, when they get to this, they're gonna have a lot of fun with it because I know that this fellow more than likely does not eat as much as them. Here's the thing about bulking and eating big meals, especially when you have a high caloric intake like that you need to grow. It's like Sam and Max, I'm pretty sure they both eat well over 4,000 calories. I think Max eats like 5,000 calories. A quality bulk comes from eating as much clean food as possible so that you can digest that food and have quality energy throughout the day. Yes, there's value to like dirty bulking, but The only way for those two to like eat two big meals, like calorically dense meals, they're like 2,000 calories or more, is if they ate shit food, and their energy levels would crash, their recovery would be terrible, and they're so strong and developed that they would hurt themselves. So I think it's context dependent, but in general, bro, you know, do what's most convenient for you, but that just simply isn't going to work for everybody. All right, fellas, last hot take. And before someone asks, this shirt is from RASKOL Apparel. We have a launch that just went live, I think, a couple of days ago. This is the heavy metal design. I just trained in this, so it's a little sweaty, but it looks pretty cool, right? I trained in that, and then the Final Boss one the day before that. That one is, I think, inspired from One Punch Man, but it's a Chad design nonetheless. Use code OMNI for 10% off. Tag me on Instagram when you get your gear, and then, you know, I'll put you on a highlight reel, share you to my story, and we can all just look jacked and stacked together. But we made it to the last hot take. All right, BQ's hot take is kind of counter to Faz's, so we'll see how that goes, fellas. You let me know how you feel about this. But BQ said that the way that you do a lift is you should track that at a higher priority than how much weight that you lift. Now, I see where BQ is coming from, and it comes down to where the two fellas are at in their training careers. Faz is much older than us. Faz is in his 40s, I think. We're all in our 20s or 30s or whatever. BQ is really discovering the merit of being a Johnny bodybuilder and how we can manipulate form and angles and things like that to bias certain things. We call it the missile strike of, weight training. So like we get the big general stimulus with the big compound movement, really just for ego to horse around a lot of weight. But then we do like a direct targeting of the muscle with like our Johnny bodybuilding stuff. And he's having a lot of fun doing that. And it is true that when you do these more like finesse movements that are more precise, that the precision has to be something that you take into account. So, for example, when people go on Instagram and they tag me in some variation that I did and say, oh, Bald Omni-Man, this is the best exercise ever. And then always I'm going to say, bro, you're not doing it right. Like, lovingly though, like if you're going to do this and say that you're getting it from me, I want you to make sure that you're reaping the right benefit from it, as well as, you know, if you're going to say you're doing it the Bald Omni-Man way, you got to be doing it the way that I told you to do it. Nonetheless, though, the way that you do it is very important. If, for example, you're trying to bias the triceps on a push down, the way that you do that is important. If you're trying to bias the pecs on a ring push-up, I don't want to see no half reps or bouncing or, you know, doing the shaking like a leaf on a tree. I want you to use control and measure exactly where I told you to do it. So like we'll use the reach RDLs again, for example. A simple 3-step process. You take a wide grip, you drift the bar in front of you, and you pause at the bottom. There are people that have tagged me on reach RDLs that did none of the 3 of those things. And of course I'll correct them, again, lovingly. I'm not gonna be mean to anybody, but the precision is important. But it really just comes down to where you're at in your training career. So I think both opinions can exist at the same time. Y'all let me know how you feel about that. This Q&A was a lot of fun. If you have any questions about the questions that we covered today, please let me know. If you have any questions for next time, please let me know as well. I'm gonna have some videos up on the screen that I want y'all to watch that are relevant to what we just talked about wherever they're at. Y'all have a good day.